Hi everyone, good morning, good afternoon, lunchtime, brunch time, a long car drive time. That's when I'm listening to podcast. Thank you so much for tuning in and listening to another episode of A to Z from Prague Podcast. My name is Adonis, and today we have another very special guest with us. I think I can entitle her as a Czechoslovak supermodel pioneer, a Renaissance woman who always puts her heart on her sleeve, or at least that's how I perceive her, and who always had way more to offer than just her looks. Pavlína Pořízková, thank you very much for joining us.
Thank you. What a lovely
little clap.
introduction.
Thank you so much for sitting with us and
Well,
having conversation with us.
I am delighted to be here, and I come to find out that you're probably a much bigger star than I am in the
I'm
Czech,
definitely
in
not.
Czechia.
I'm definitely not. I'm definitely not. How are you today? How are you feeling today? How was your morning?
Oh Lord, I am like a ball of stress.
Really? You don't
well,
look like at all.
Well, a little bit of makeup and hair helps, honestly, because you saw me roll in here in the morning with my glasses and my pimples, and I was like, Jesus Christ, one more interview.
That is not true. That is not true. It took literally half an hour and we're ready.
It's
like
because the makeup artist was very good.
We were speaking about this earlier before we rolled the cameras, and I think it's really interesting that maybe like the way you walk into the room, the energy literally mesmerize always everyone and mesmerize myself as well, whether you have a makeup on or you don't. So I think it's a lot about the energy that you bring in the room and the energy that you maybe store within yourself and then project to, everyone.
I think that's a really interesting concept, the energy thing, because I find that with age, the older I get, the more it is about the energy and the more it is about really my insides melting or melding with the way I look. And it's a much more interesting balance, I think. And the fact that I think energy, my history, my life reflects on my face because I haven't had anything erased. I think that's a really interesting thing. I'm trying to see it as beautiful. I'm still like in the process of trying to balance like between sometimes looking at myself and thinking, Jesus, I look so old. And you know what? What's wrong with that?
Let me just step in. You look absolutely marvelous.
Well, thank you.
I told you that before.
You can keep on saying it. I'm fine.
I will. Why not? We should, cheer each other up. And I love a compliment shower. I think it helps a lot.
Yes.
But as you're saying, I think the way you feel, that's going to project on everyone and you will make everyone else feel the same way. So
correct.
I absolutely resonate with that. I actually wanted to start differently. I wanted to start with your name because you are living proof for me that even with like the most difficult Slavic name, you can make an astronomical worldwide career in modeling. I was not as brave as you are. I did change my acronym, my stage name. Have you ever considered changing your name at the beginning of your career, or was there any nickname that we don't know about, maybe?
Well, okay, so, I started life as Pavlína Pořízková.
Yes.
And when I went to Paris to start modeling at 15, everybody was like, qu'est-ce que c'est la Pavlína Pořízková?
No
I was
one
like,
was
oh my
able.
God, that sounds awful. And they started calling me Paulina, because that's the
Paulina.
French for Pavlina.
Okay.
And so then it sort of became Paulina because, from the French Paulina to the English Paulina. And so it just kind of stuck with me. And I guess I thought it looked prettier than Pavlina, which to me in Czech was. And also, I forgot, I did grow up in Sweden part ways. In the south of Sweden, where they have very strange accents, they're like a little bit like Danish. And so my name went from Pavlina, Pavlína tady, to Swedish Pavlína, which was truly
That's
awful.
very harsh. Yeah, that's very harsh.
To Paulina, to Paulina. So I've had 4 name changes.
But that was your signature name pretty much. There was no other nickname.
No, when I first started, there were people in the business that were going, you should consider changing your last name.
Okay.
And I was like, no.
No.
It's
my name.
And then I became known as the one name model. I was just
Amazing.
Paulina because I was the only Paulina.
And you were the first one.
And I was the first Paulina. And so I was just Paulina.
That's amazing.
And then I guess people added my last name to it and learned how to pronounce it.
Not everyone can actually have this.
Yeah, no. Now everybody goes Pavlína Pořízková. It's not that complicated.
absolutely.
It's not like Radovanovičová.
Yes, or Pavlovchin.
Pavlovchin is not so bad.
It's Pavlovkin.
Yeah.
You know, Pavlovich. No. It's simple, just Adonis, you know. Anyway, you're very much known for your spontaneity, goofiness, for really speaking your heart out and just being very direct with what you think. Do you think these characteristic traits were your advantage or disadvantage in the modeling industry, or at the beginning maybe of your career?
I think that's a good question too. I think that it was initially. I think my goofiness is disarming. I think this is the one thing people don't know about me, is that I'm essentially incredibly goofy. And I think that kind of puts people at ease. And so when you are, in your teens and you have all this makeup and a glorious gown and you make it funny, people sort of relax around you a little bit. So that was an advantage. But being outspoken and being honest, that was definitely a disadvantage.
And having opinion.
And having opinion, as you know, having opinions in the modeling industry, it's like you're supposed to be an apple in a bowl. Just shut up and be an apple.
So how did you maybe handle this? Like, do you feel like you had to sometimes put yourself backwards a little bit, or you didn't? You just went with it.
I just did.
It worked for you.
I did my thing. Look, I got lucky. I mean, my career took off in ways that I could have never foreseen. But I think I was as kind of a right look at the right time. And so the fact that I also had opinions and that I was kind of brutally honest about things, it seemed to work against me in the beginning, and then it sort of became my trademark.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Your identity pretty much. Everyone knew that, okay, we are booking her because she's also a personality, not just a face.
That was much, much later on. But
okay.
I mean, I can tell you when I signed with Estée Lauder, and
Yes.
this is like 1988,
Yes.
I think, or 89. I was supposed to represent a very venerable classical brand and be sort of like, the perfect woman, the ice queen, lounging around on chairs and just
Unreachable.
looking. Yes, well, yeah, a little bit of that, the queen on the mountaintop. And it was so unlike who I actually was. And that was a little bit of a struggle because they kept wanting me to be that woman. And I was like, but I'm
a people woman.
Well, I mean, after the shoot, I would change into my, ripped up T-shirt that said, too drunk to fuck, and then walk down the street, and they'd be horrified.
I need that for a merchandise now. We'll sell out immediately.
Yeah, see, there you go.
So maybe for our listeners, let's bring it to the beginning. So you moved out from Czechoslovakia when you were 9, right? And
Yep.
you moved to Sweden, and then you moved to Paris at the age of 14. 15.
Yeah.
And that's where it all started. How did you perceive modeling at that time? Because I guess there were no expectations, right? No one knew that it's gonna like blew out the way it blew out, that the 80s supermodels, 90s supermodels will become so famous. So what was maybe the security of it all? Like, okay, I'm gonna be doing this, and this is my profession now. So
Oh, well, it didn't quite start in that way because obviously I went at 15 and it was supposed to be a summer job.
okay,
So I just went literally to go for I had already applied to be an au pair in France.
okay,
And
So you
then
had a
this
safe
little
plan.
yes, yeah, and
Backup plan.
this little modeling thing came in and said, "Hey, would you like to try to be a model?" And I was like, well, okay. Sorry, kids. I'm
I'm not
try to
taking
be-"
care of you.
Yeah.
I'm going for a photo shoot.
And so I had no expectations whatsoever. I mean, first of all, and I talk about this in my book, and I mean, it's kind of like a known part of my story. I was very bullied when I was in Sweden and when I was a kid. And so I went from being called a giraffe and, the ugly one and the one that could never get a date to suddenly going, you're supposed to be beautiful. You're a model. I was like, what? In the mirror, my face looked exactly the same in Sweden and in Paris, but in one country I was ugly and in one country I was beautiful.
So it's confusing for children, really.
Well, it made no sense, and I think I was smart enough to realize, like, oh, beauty actually doesn't have to do with what you look like. It's about the perception of others of you.
Which is
meanings.
terrifying sometimes, no? I mean,
Well, yes, it
if
just
you don't
means
give yourself, you know, the value and the beauty, and someone is supposed to rate you, that can be very toxic for children.
it's oh my god, yeah, of course it's very toxic, and then it's especially toxic for girls.
Yeah.
You know, and they're so dependent on that outside validation of their looks,
Mhm.
which as you grow older, you really care less and less, which is the nice thing about being older
Mhm.
too. But it was also good for me because I understood the worth of beauty. You know,
Okay.
like when people considered me beautiful, I could make a career of it. I could make money of it. I could, I could use it. But it wasn't who I was. You know, who I was this little kid who thought I'm ugly, so I'm going to be smart.
And then you just combined it pretty
And
much.
perfectly said.
Then you just use the best of both worlds, really.
Oh, you're
Um,
so sweet.
so do you, okay, well, this is really interesting. So do you feel like there was this turning point when you were a child when you said like, okay, well, in one country I'm ugly and in one country I'm beautiful? Some turning point that, okay, people are defining me as a beautiful, the moment you believed it, like I am beautiful, and then it stick with you forever? Or
Uh,
you don't recall any of these elementary moments?
no, I don't think there was ever a moment that I thought of myself as beautiful per se, because again, feeling beautiful would mean confidence, and due to how I grew up, being left by my parents, and all the events that happened to me, I have always been a girl and then a woman of very low self-confidence, but then eventually a high ego because of the modeling thing. So it's very strange contrast.
Contrasting, yeah.
In one way you're like have this like super inflated ego, but you have zero self-confidence.
This is giving me 100, fake it till you make it.
Oh, you are so right.
This is giving me all this vibe.
Well, that was my job for
Wait.
45 years, is fake it till you make it. And it turns out that with age comes the make it part.
Yes.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
Amazing.
And that's a
amazing.
wonderful thing about aging and becoming older, which is so great to celebrate, is that, you've been faking it long enough.
So you do speak a lot about your early age and about pretty much the rejection or abandonment first by your parents, and maybe the bullying in school, which kind of created this low self-esteem moment for you.
Right.
And then was there a moment when you feel like, okay, I want to make it up for it with like, the ambition was rising and the work became kind of the filter, and you were like, okay, I'm making up for all of this self-esteem in that work? Because I have this with singing and with writing music. Obviously it's all about broken heart and being rejected by someone,
Right.
and then I'm making up for it in the music, where I'm like, I'm just gonna write all about this, and I'm gonna
Right.
become a big star, and you will hear me from every single billboard, every single radio, and I'm gonna make up for it. Was modeling somehow the tool for you as well, how to
Well, you know what?
build up on
This
that?
is I could tell that you were speaking from personal experience here. Success is indeed the sweetest revenge. The first year of modeling, I was when I got my first cover, like 2 months after I arrived in Paris for Vingt-Ans, which is like a
Sports Illustrated.
Oh no, this is like
No?
way later. This is like
Okay.
1984. 1980, I got my first cover.
Okay.
And I had like 200 covers before I got Sports Illustrated. So like this was like
All I know is that you lost the count. We don't know how many.
yeah,
Or do you know?
exactly. But when I got my first one, which was fairly short after I arrived in Paris, I stood by those newsstands, like hoping people would notice me. I'd be like, "Hello,
I love
this
that.
is
I love.
this is me.
Do you want
Can
me
you
to
tell
sign
it?
it?"
Yeah, would you like me?" And of course, nobody gave a shit.
And now
nobody
it's the
cared.
opposite. Now you're pretty much.
Oh.
I don't want to say exhausted by signing, but like.
No.
probably-
I love signing to meet people, but like my face on something is completely uninteresting to me. Visually, it's like, yeah, whatever. It's just like another
Yeah.
picture of me. Another picture of me. How many more pictures of me do I need? But that said, pictures of me the way I look now, those are much rarer. So unfortunately, I sort of have to stick with keeping showing my face and my figure just to represent my age, because this is what we have very little of, us women in our 50s and 60s. It's like we have very little representation of what that age actually looks like without having been, erased or modified or softened. And so I sort of, I feel like, so I have to keep putting myself out there on photos in order to
represent
this,
Yeah.
this stage of life.
You speak about it a lot, and you
I
probably
do,
speak
yeah.
about it in the book as well, which
Yeah.
I will get to.
Oh, don't worry.
But when I was doing a little research, you always speak about this gap between J-Lo and everyone,
Yeah,
right?
yeah.
Which I love. That's a perfect comparison. Do you feel, because I think you still have so much like work related to modeling, even at your age, and I do think it's somehow unique for the models that started in the 80s and 90s, that you're like in this special category, that you have a forever model pass because you established yourself
That is
very early.
that is an interesting way to look at it. I haven't actually thought of it that way at all. No, I think you're absolutely wrong on that one. I'll tell you why. Because when I hit 50 and I knew I was going to separate from my husband, I had zero career. And I met with my modeling agent at one point, and I said, by the way, if there, if there were any
Available.
jobs available, and she laughed at me. She was like,
Okay.
you think you're going to resurrect your career? Like, ha ha ha, fat chance. And she was right. There was really no way to do it. Now you look at me and you think I have a modeling career. Modeling career was, you get to work 5 days a week, 4 days a week throughout the year. So let's say at least 200 jobs a year. This modeling phase of mine that I'm going through right now. You know how many jobs I had last year? 7.
Okay. Yeah.
For the year, 7. You know how many paid jobs I have had this year? 0.
I'm not gonna guess. Yeah.
Zero. I'm
Okay.
not making you guess. I've had 0 paying jobs. So is that a modeling career?
It's reinvesting to the brand, really.
Yes,
Nothing
exactly, which
else.
is very, very different.
Yes.
So I think me being an 80s, supermodel has absolutely no bearing on who I am now, except as a curiosity. Like,
Okay.
oh, I knew her back then, and look what she looks like now. There's a little bit of like, I think, horrified pleasure people take in
Oh, really?
seeing somebody age. Yeah, because it's revenge. It's like she was so
she had her
beautiful,
time, and now
yeah,
she's gonna get
and
back.
now she's old like me.
I very much disagree with you. I think like people actually want to look, or are looking up to you, and they're like, I want to look like this when I'm
Oh,
her age.
well,
I believe so.
I
It's not a compliment. I do believe so.
I would
Um,
love that. And this is obviously, look, there's 2 fractions. There's the,
Yes.
there's the not so well wishers, and then there are the well wishers.
Yes.
And right now I've kind of discarded the portion of women who actually, that are in the same boat as I am, and they are incredibly supportive and incredibly warm. And I have like 1 million of them on Instagram, and I'm so
I see that.
honored
Yeah.
and so pleased that and grateful for this. And those women, yes, I think that I have sort of accidentally become an ageist advocate by just daring to visually age. And I think of course, whenever you have something like, okay, we have a choice about the way we look when we age. And so right now we're tipping very much in a direction of everybody looking like an Instagram filter, which is pretty, but a little scary. You're losing a little bit of originality and a little bit of uniqueness
Do you
there.
think Instagram is now shaping the modeling industry?
Oh, completely.
Okay.
Absolutely. And also, I didn't have a career before Instagram.
Absolutely. Yeah, people are having careers based on their Instagram
Because I
because
had
of the numbers.
followers, and then
Yes.
suddenly people would come to me and ask me to do a model job.
Yeah.
They hadn't come to me for years, but once I started getting the followers, they were like, oh, guess what? I would love for you to climb into a pair of our pants.
Do you think this is the biggest shift in modeling industry, that it literally went to digital and to social media, and that the numbers are so important?
Oh, yeah. Oh yeah. I mean, the internet and social media has completely changed our worlds in so many ways. I mean, it has done it in music, it has
It
done
did,
it
yeah, everywhere.
in writing, it has done it in art, it has done
Hmm.
it like virtually all over the creative artistic world. We're dealing with a different world.
Would you say the modeling industry is moving to the better direction, or is it at a better place nowadays than it was before,
You
or
know
it's
what?
hard to
It's
judge?
well, no, I mean it's both because in some ways models from what I see are making a less money. It's
Hmm.
not like you used to be able to have a career span of maybe 10 years. Now it seems like 10 months is like
Hmm.
all you get.
Yeah, very temporary thing.
Yeah, because like the turnover is so
And so many
fast.
people in the business that you can't really. I mean, I have very little experience with modeling, but I did go to Milan or whatever for some
Oh
couple
yeah.
casting. But I don't want to compare it to any what you've gone through. But I always remember like it was so unstable. You couldn't rely on anything, and it was
It's a
so
freelance
toxic
job.
for me.
It's toxic for
Yeah.
everyone. It is like
I
having
felt awful
right,
from every rejection, from every
right.
casting, and you go to hundreds of them, and you sometimes don't book anything, and then even if you book it, they make you feel so little.
Yeah,
I
and then
felt
they
very
talk
bad.
about you like they
Yeah,
cut
like
you
an
up into
object.
like
Yeah,
they cut you into little pieces and like you find out everything that's wrong with you that you
yeah.
didn't know.
You actually to literally to cite you, you said that as a model you are renting your body to as a blank canvas to someone else's art. I so very much relate to this. I always felt like I'm not the part of the creating process, and I'm just
Yes.
like a hanger or something that is representing it. Okay, you can become a muse, an inspiration for someone, but I always thrive for the creative process.
Yes.
And that's where I see you. That's maybe why you turn to writing. That's maybe why
Yes,
you turn
of
to
course.
other industries. But you did spend so many years in the modeling industry. How did you keep your mind sane?
Well, I mean, look, I because I was making such enormous amounts of money, I would
Hmm.
be an idiot for passing that up. It
Of
was an
course,
opportunity that I
valid question,
could,
valid answer.
yeah, that I couldn't have done that anywhere else. And but I always knew that it was a limited, that I only had a limited amount of time in which to do it. So I thought, grab all the money that they're giving me now, and then I will parlay it into. I've always been writing since I was a child. And I always wanted to, write, to act, to do other things. And I thought once this dries up, I will move on to the second part of my life,
So
which
it's
will
like a
be the more,
stepping
yeah. So
stone.
the modeling was a step to where I was going. It wasn't the thing that I was aspiring to,
Hmm.
which I think if you take modeling that way, like it's just a step onto the next thing, then it's a fantastic thing to do.
And it's
If you take it as the top of the mountain, you're fucked.
yeah,
Yeah.
because it will eventually finish,
Yeah,
and you have
it
nothing.
it
You're
will
with left with
destroy you.
nothing. Yeah.
Yeah.
And do you feel like it gave you like a big media training and everything that you could use eventually in your later career, which is being a writer and
Hmm,
or actress,
not
or
not
how to maybe.
not really, honestly. I mean, obviously, once I became famous,
Mhm.
so that's separate from being a model. As a model, I learned to exquisite detail how to know my own body, what my body looks like, what my face looks like, what my expressions are, where my light is. It's interesting because on here in Czechia and Slovakia on this tour that I've been doing with my boyfriend he's a writer, so he's never seen modeling before,
Mhm.
and he's come with me on the shoots, and after the shoots he would sort of like he'd be shocked and
Okay.
amazed. He'd go, I had no idea the
How much
amount
work?
of work that goes into making a picture. And he didn't mean just photographer, makeup,
Yes.
hair, and all that, but the amount of work that I do, the
Hmm.
amount of work that is required in order for me to look at the garment, know which way it looks best, where my light is, what the photographer wants from me, what sort of energy is required, and then like minuscule adjustments to make everything look right
Perfect.
and different. I mean,
Yes.
this is what I learned from modeling. From what I learned from being famous, yes, it's sure being on camera, speaking in public, And that is very useful for me now. And that, again, that was an accident. Who knew I was going to become famous? Not me.
I have two last questions and then we move on from modeling.
Sure.
Do you have any suggestions for young talents entering the industry nowadays? I know you already said it pretty much.
Use
that
it
if
as a
it's
step.
stepping stone.
Use it as a step. Know where you're going next. Use it for all it's worth, but don't hang your life on it. Know where you're going after.
And I think it's a great advice, so I'll keep that one. Your favorite collaboration or your favorite modeling job ever? Do you have one?
Ever? I've done so many. I have to say,
Top 3?
wait, you know what? There are the photographers that I used to love to work with. Arthur Elgort was always one. Patrick de Marchelier was one. Mr. Penn was one that I loved to work with. So, there were we'd work constantly and consistently over the years, and I always enjoyed working with them. I think there was Skrybneski for Estée Lauder, somebody I worked with for a long amount of time as well, creating a certain kind of picture. And I really enjoyed working with him too. I understood what he wanted. He understood how I looked. But because there's been so much of it, I can tell you that in the last, say, 7 days that I've been here in Czechia and Slovakia and Vienna, I've had a couple of collaborations that have been just joyful and exciting and super fun. And so...
And you feel appreciated, I guess.
Yeah. And so this is what I remember the most now when you're asking me, because it's like, the thing that I have been doing all week.
Yeah. Love that. We ask this to everyone because we're in Prague. We're in beautiful Andaz.
My favorite hotel here, you know that?
Oh, yes. So we need to say that. I love it too.
happy to say that. And, one of the great things about this hotel, no, there's a lot of great things. But like one of my very favorite things is the button that you push in order to have a bath, that you just push a button. And you don't have to, oh my God, you have to do this. It's like the best invention ever is a push button tap.
And it makes the perfect bath.
And it's the same thing for shower. You just push a button for the shower.
Okay.
Do you know how brilliant that is when you can just turn it off with one push instead of like with soapy hands trying to like close the faucets? Yeah. I mean, it's just a stroke of genius. That's all. That's all I'm going to say.
I'm literally shooting one thing after this, so I will use the bathroom afterwards. Do you have any special place in Prague apart from Andaz, or what's your relationship with the city?
I adore this city, but I didn't know it before I came back after the Velvet Revolution, because I'm from Prostějov, in like a little small town in the middle of nowhere, close to you Slovaks.
Yes, I'm from close to Moravia. Actually.
Yeah. And so Prague, when I first came here, was kind of it was unknown city, and it was sort of fairy tale like. And I love being here. I don't know that I have a specific favorite spot. Like I have, the tourist spots. I mean, come on. I mean, how can you not love walking over Charles Bridge in the sunset?
If it's 1,000 of tourists, I hate it. But if it's in the evening, exactly in the golden hour, yes,
even with
magical.
1,000 tourists, the magic, it doesn't lose its magic. It's so specific to Prague. And, I've been to most of the great cities in the world, and I love them. I adore Paris. I adore London. I love Rome. I love Barcelona. There's so many wonderful, wonderful cities, but that walk over the river, and you can turn either way and see Old Town or the lesser side. There's nothing like it. That is unique. It's original to Prague, and it's like you're in a Grimm's fairy tale.
Yeah, it is fairy tale.
Yeah, and somebody's gonna kill you like right after that.
You can sense the history there. You're also in the middle of your press tour, right?
I am. So actually, you were catching me towards the end of it.
Towards the end of it.
Thank God.
Done your part in Czechoslovakia as well.
Yes.
This is the book. Let me show that to the camera. It's called No Filter, The Good, the Bad, and the Beautiful, if I'm translating it correctly.
You are.
What do I find inside? Tell me.
You will find me.
I will find your story.
Me. You will find my story. You will find stories of my childhood. You will find stories of my marriage, of a little bit about my modeling. And you will find my brain basically inside those pages. Everything that I've been thinking about and that's sort of happened to me
Mhm.
in the last 5 years of, frankly, shit that
Mm.
went down. But also where I started, so that you get a sense of why I made the choices that I did and who I am now.
Do you think the book has a specific audience, or is
I don't.
targeted to specific
I
audience,
I
or is for
do.
everyone
I
really?
do think that it's more for an older audience and
Mhm.
for women, but I have had a ton of guys come up to me and said they read my book and they loved it and they gave it to their daughters or they gave it to their wives. And I was like, wow, okay, thank you.
I was given the book yesterday, and I did start reading last night. I didn't finish it yet, but I will finish it.
Oh,
Maybe I'll get you to sign it as
that
well.
is
I'll
very
be so
kind of
annoying.
you.
Um, how did you enjoy the tour? Is the reception?
The
How was the
reception has
reception?
been phenomenal,
Mm.
phenomenal. A lot of my audience are my Instagram followers,
Mhm.
obviously, but also it's just it's a lot of women, and that I appreciate that so much because that is the one thing that was sort of kept away from me when I was modeling. Women were not feeling the love for me.
Yes,
They admire me, perhaps respect to a certain
but
extent.
you were a rival in a sense.
Yeah, but I was, I was so far removed from who they believed they were. So they had no connection to me at all, except to go, I just want to know what kind of moisturizer she uses and how she stays so skinny. That was pretty much
Give
it.
me on routine tips, etc.
Yeah, exactly. Which for me was very boring. But now women are coming to me with their stories and with their lives, and they will come with a copy of my book and they will underline things that speak
That
to
speaks to
them,
them.
where they see themselves. They have folded pages over, or they will grab my hand and say, "You helped me through a really rough
Mm.
time."
So you have a
Or
direct feedback pretty
so
much
I
from them,
have
which is
I have this connection to women that are my peers, and it's so humbling and wonderful.
and again, I'm looking at it through my perspective, which would be the concerts and the
Yes.
live shows where you get literally the feedback and the energy from the people that you invested into book back in a way.
Correct.
So
And people
it's beautiful.
that are not just looking at you, but they're hearing what you're saying
Saying,
with your
yeah,
words that you wrote, the broken heart and how that makes them feel, how it maybe made them feel a little bit better, or they cried to your
mm.
songs that made
And
them
they
feel
live their
better.
stories through your story or through.
Jesus, are
Oh
we getting
wow!
bombed?
I will probably move to like the last bit or two last
Sure.
bits of
Yeah.
our conversation, which is music. I need to discuss
Music.
music with every of my
Of
guests
course
because
you
I'm a
do,
musician. So
because you are you're a
yes,
performer and a musician and a songwriter and a singer.
yes. So please tell me, what's your favorite music genre, or what was your last concert you visited?
Oh God. I think the last concert I went to was Dvořák in
Hmm.
Radio City Hall with the Brno Philharmonic
Oh wow,
Orchestra, because my best girlfriend from childhood plays in the orchestra, which was fantastic.
wow.
So yes, when it comes to music, I tend to be more of a classical
Hmm.
girl. I think, as behoves my homeland. This is like, grew up in a small little Renaissance town. And I play the classical piano. My youngest son composes classical music. So we're all, of course, I was married to a rock star,
Yes, and then you compensated with the
but I always
very.
really loved classical music, and I still do. I love classical. I love jazz. I kind of actually like
Do you still play piano?
I still play the piano. Yeah.
Oh,
Yeah.
wow. As like a hobby for
Yeah,
yourself,
yeah,
or
it's just for myself. It's like a meditation,
I love
sit
that.
down with my little Chopin or like a little
Do you write as
Schumann.
well?
No, I do not
No.
write. No, I'm not that brilliant.
I mean, if you play for years.
Yeah, no. My creativity, I'm better at painting than I am at playing an instrument. But I did teach myself how to play the ukulele so that me and my sons could jam, because they both play guitar and the banjo, and like my sons can kind of play everything. And so we sit around at home sometimes, in the evenings, like an old-fashioned family, and just pick up our instruments and play. And we
So you
just,
literally experienced the rock and roll lifestyle,
yeah.
and then this was your maybe peaceful escape. Can we say that?
It's a well, I have many peaceful escapes. I read a lot,
Mm-hmm.
and I draw, and I paint, and I knit. Very peaceful stuff.
Love
Yeah,
that.
but
Very zen.
very zen. Music is actually something we sort of almost do for companionship because it's
Mm.
like a way to hang out, and
Mm-hmm.
have fun together. And
And
we
get to
will,
know
yeah.
each
But we play
other.
like music. We play like classically inspired stuff. Where my sons will like layer on like electric guitar doodles over it,
Okay.
and my younger son plays the violin. So it's a real mixed bag of stuff. But we just do that for pleasure.
Well, you mentioned your ex-husband who was a rock star.
Yep.
Rick Ocasek, if I'm pronouncing.
Rick Ocasek.
Ocasek, yes.
But a lot of
I
people
did
say
ask
Ocasek.
before, and you see, I forgot.
Everybody says
Yes,
Ocasek.
I'm
It's
sorry.
okay.
How was it? Have you been like? I mean, the rock and roll lifestyle. Like, did you go to concerts with him?
Oh, yeah.
Have you been like always there supporting, or
Oh, yeah.
did it get tired eventually?
No, I went on every tour, and I was the wife that
The
was
tours are
along. And
exhausting.
the tours are fucking exhausting.
They are.
I don't know how people do them, honestly. I mean, like a year
Special
on the
if-
road
if you're big.
is yeah, it's brutal, hotel to hotel, and like the endless and shit food because you can't eat before the show, and after the show everything is closed. So yeah,
The cycle is
yeah,
just not regular. And
it's not a very glamorous thing. That
did you go with your kids as well? Was
Well,
it like
no,
a
once-
Beyonce lifestyle, Jay-Z kids?
Sure, yeah, it was exactly like me. No, by the time we had children, my husband wasn't touring anymore.
Okay.
He always preferred songwriting and producing to
Mhm.
actually performing.
Mhm.
So he was just content with just doing that. He toured a little bit. He played a few times after the kids were big enough to see him. I think he just did it so that his kids would get to see that he could do that,
Mhm.
that he did do it.
Mhm.
And our children were, of course, enchanted by Daddy on stage. He did the Lollapalooza one year, and gigantic audience, and our
Yes.
kids were like, "Whoa, look
Wow,
at
this
that!"
is our father.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's amazing. I mean, why not? Yeah, of course.
But yeah, we were a very, very low key family.
Okay. You met at the set, right? Which was his music video shoot.
For Drive.
Drive.
Yes.
How did you get to the job?
Oh,
what was the process? Was it random?
Yeah, it was just like one of those random like model jobs, because it's like 1984 and MTV was going huge, and they were using models for all the
Mhm.
videos. And I got a call for, go and audition for a
Audition,
band
yeah.
called The Cars, which I had never heard of. So I was like, nah, I don't think so. And my booker at Elite at the time said, no, you got to go. It's a great American band, one of my favorite. You got to go and do the audition. So I was like, oh yeah, whatever. And I did, mostly because there was an actor, Timothy Hutton, who
Mhm.
was very famous at the time in the States, who was going to be directing it. And I was far more interested in like meeting
In
Timothy
working
Hutton
with him, yeah.
because I didn't know the band. And of course, walk into the room and my husband walks out and I'm like,
Oh.
I am in love.
Do you have a special relationship with the song?
A very special relationship. Yeah, because that's the song that we met on. We fell in love. And when we got married, there was a London Philharmonic Orchestra recording of it. So we used that when we walked down in the church.
As your wedding.
So we used that. We had it as our wedding song. Yeah.
Was it a dance or the aisle
No,
song?
walking down the
Walking
aisle.
down the
Yeah.
aisle.
So yeah, it's
So the
very
full circle
yeah.
over there.
Exactly.
Okay.
Yeah. It was so
Brilliant.
I can't quite hear that song without being stabbed.
Okay.
But now in
I have a
a
goosebumps. I
Yeah.
mean, when music does this, that's the magic. So
music does do this. Music kind of how it
brings the old sentiment, emotions,
it's
everything.
the best.
It's very
I
powerful.
think it's the best time machine we
Yeah.
have. Scent and music will instantly put you
Mhm.
back into
Mhm.
a part of your life that sometimes you might not want to revisit.
And it is a little bit of superhero moment on the stage as well. That's how I
yes.
feel.
Yes.
And I love that so much.
It's gotta feel amazing.
It does, because you create your own illusion and your own fantasy, your own bubble, and you invite people into it.
Yes.
And you can do whatever you want there. So
Power.
great.
Power.
it's still a bubble, because then they buy tickets for meet and greet, and then you go and you shop, at Lidl 2 hours later, and they can meet you there.
Yes.
And it's crazy because it's like,
Oh, wait. Yeah.
Yes.
Two completely different worlds.
Yes. You're traveling to Karlovy Vary,
Yes.
the film festival.
Like
Still
in 2
today.
minutes, and I
in
haven't
2
packed
minutes.
yet.
Yes, I'm not gonna hold you any longer. So I want to officially invite you in our podcast to come and see my show. Which is Sunday or Wednesday if you're available, and you will get like invite after this as well. But it would be lovely to see you there as well.
Well, of course I want to see you now that I know you. Such a lovely, charming man.
I always ask our guests like if they know any of my songs, which I can't ask you because my assistant played you my song just a minute before we started.
That's right.
So it would be cheating.
I heard like 3 of them before I got up here. So yeah.
Yeah, so I'm skipping this question, but I'm moving on to our last just quick questions and answers.
Yes,
so
darling.
whatever first pops on your mind, that's your answer.
Fun. Okay.
So let's go. Choose one. Prague, Stockholm, Paris.
Paris.
Great. Choose one. TikTok or Instagram?
Instagram.
Okay. Instagram or Twitter?
Instagram.
If you could swap your life for one day with some other famous person, who would it be and why?
Oh, fuck. I don't really want to swap. I have the best life in the world right now.
That's a great answer. I'll take that.
Thank you.
I'll take that. If you could choose one person to have a dinner date with, who would it be?
Jesus. I have
Lovely.
some questions.
Your favorite fashion designer?
I'm so bad at fashion. Shit.
One. Any.
Wait, I don't even know.
Okay, let's go.
I don't even know who they are anymore.
Do you prefer Fendi or Balenciaga?
I don't know. I don't know what they do.
I'll skip that.
Okay, fine, Fendi. Fendi, because they gave me a nice bag.
Modeling or writing books?
Definitely writing books.
Okay. Johnny Depp or Thomas Selleck?
That is such an easy one. Johnny Depp all the way.
How would you describe yourself in 3 words?
Courageous, intellectually curious, and goofy.
3 essential items in your purse or any bag.
Saline solution, because I wear lenses. Money. Keys.
Thank you so much. Thank you for answering all my questions.
You're welcome.
Taking the time and sitting us with.
It was delightful.
I loved it too. I loved it too.
It was great.
Enjoy the rest of your press tour. Enjoy the film festival, and we might see each other there.
Yes. Hopefully, I'll see you doing your thing.
I hope so too.
Cool.
Thank you so much for listening to another episode of A to Z from Prague Podcast, and I'll see you, or you will hear me, on another one.